This is the Hootoo TripMate Mini router slash NAS slash power bank made by Hootoo. You know, as you can see here, this is the box, the instruction manual, the USB power cable, and the device itself. I put a ruler there just to kind of show you how small this device really is. Maybe a little over 2 inches in length. It'll literally fit in the palm of your hand. And it's got a lot of really great features for such a small little device. I was actually amazed by its ability to do all the things that it says it can do. And I put all those to the test, and believe it or not, it can do the things it says it can. You know, it's pretty easy to set up. I mean, there's a on-off switch on the front here. I'll try to point that out a little bit on the front of the device. That the on-off switch. There's 3 LED lights. One's the green on, power on. One's the blue Wi-Fi, and then of course there's another one that shows an internet connection. You know, it's pretty easy to power on and off, and then to power the wireless part of the capability up, you hold the button down, and the wireless capabilities come on. The blue light comes on. There's Hootoo recommends, and really you should, especially if you're going to use it for your tablets and your phones, to install the Hootoo app, which is relatively easily to install and relatively painless, and connecting to the device is fairly easy. You know, just typing in the default password, which you can change later, and it allows you to do various things within the app on the phone or the tablet. Surprisingly, the wireless routing part of this is actually pretty decent. I mean, you're not going to match what you can get from your home router. Like, for example, my Netgear at home, I have a Netgear AC, and you're not going to match that kind of range or ability, but for being out on the road and traveling and using while you're in a hotel or something like that, this has a pretty good range and speed capability. This has the ability to connect USB devices. This says up to 1 terabyte, which I've done with no issues, although I suspect you could probably go larger than that without a problem. It also has a slot for a micro card that you could put in there and do the same thing with. Those, you know, I had no issues with those. I was able to connect, see the drive, play music, play video, transfer files, no issues. And then lastly, on top of that, this has the ability to power your devices in a pinch, so to speak. Although this is not quite as powerful as, you know, other power banks that I've used that I really like. But this will work for doing that in an emergency, and I think that's a pretty cool feature. So, you know, overall, I think this is a great little device for the price. Perfect for traveling. I title my review, you know, the little router that could, because it reminds me of the little kid story, the little engine that could, because this little router thinks it can, and it can. So overall, good little device, 5 stars. Part 2 of my review here, I'm doing a couple months after I reviewed the Mini, as I received the Nano for review a few months later. So part 2 of my review here will cover the TripMate Nano. When I first received the Mini, I was like, wow, this is a really small device. But the Nano is like the little brother of the Mini. It's basically half the size and maybe a third of the weight. It's really small and very, very lightweight. I'll bring it up closer so you can see. It has the switch there for wireless and wired operation. The power mini micro slot for charging, and the internet port for wired plug-in use. And then, of course, on this side, there's a reset button and a USB plug as well. There's a couple LEDs on the top for showing wireless operation and that it's connected to the LAN as well. Basically with this you get a set of instructions and a charging cable. The instructions themselves are okay, but I wish we'd kind of go into a little bit more detail than what they do. But they're okay for getting the basics set up. Like the Mini, this Nano can do almost everything that the Mini can do. It can function as a router, as a NAS for sharing files and that kind of thing. Using the USB plug for, with a USB hard drive or thumb drive, things like that. The biggest difference with this one, and probably what accounts for the size and weight, is it does not have a battery. So it has to be plugged into a wall outlet or a USB connection on your computer to function and power up. And since there is no battery in this, there's no, they've eliminated the off-on switch, and there also is no mini SD card slot like there is on the Mini. Like the Mini, you have to have the app, the Hootoo app for either Android or Apple phone, which again is fairly simple to set up and use. It's basically works the same as the Mini. All this does have its limitations, like the Mini, which has its own limitations. This does work pretty decent as a wired router or a wireless router. Pretty good considering its size. The media serving ability works pretty well. It transfers files pretty good and pretty quickly, and plays music or video through the app fairly well too. So I mean, it's fairly similar. The biggest difference, of course, is the size, the weight, the battery. If you want a little bit more features, then probably the Mini's the better choice for you. But if you don't need all that, and really want something lightweight you could throw in your pocket, then this little Nano is the way to go. Like the Mini, I always suggest with these devices, make sure you go on first and check for firmware updates. Mine came with the latest version of the firmware, so I didn't have to update, but of course make sure, as time goes along, you check that Hootoo site. Overall, although I personally prefer the Mini over this Nano, this Nano is a powerful little device on its own and good for travel. If you don't need an off-on switch, you don't need the battery power, you don't need the SD card slot. If those things aren't that big a deal, then for the price, this is a great little travel companion. I give this 4 stars.